Hello and welcome to this tutorial. I'm Victor Engström, the creator of Sonity, an audio middleware for Unity. In this tutorial, we're gonna go through how to use the new Steam audio integration in Sonity. We'll also look at the new PlayMaker integration and the new 2D and 3D info on the sound containers and sound events. Let's start with Steam audio. First, we can check out the example scene. I also want to thank Simon Palmblad for letting me use his voice in this example.
Hello and welcome to this loop experience.
And if we move behind this wall here, you can hear the occlusion effect muffling the sound.
From 1 to 5. Starting with 1, 2.
You can also hear the sound reflecting on the wall in front of us. And when we enter the room, you can hear the room effect.
I hope you enjoyed this immersive experience, and I'll see you in the next loop. Hello and welcome to this loop experience. Today,
So let's look at setting up Steam Audio and enabling it in Sonity. First, we'll import the Unity asset package, which you can download from GitHub. And we want to use the native Steam Audio version. And we want to import all the contents of this Unity asset package. And now let's go to the Sound Manager and enable Steam Audio. We also need to click this button, adding a scripting defined symbol to the player settings. When you add a scripting defined symbol, Unity also needs to recompile the game. As you can see, Steam Audio in combination with voice preload also requires async startup, which we can enable here. It's because the Steam Audio Manager otherwise doesn't exist when the voices are preloaded. And now, to make the sound play correctly in-game, we'll go to the project settings and change the spatializer to the Steam Audio Spatializer. Now we need to define the geometry for the Steam Audio simulation. The geometry used for this simulation is the mesh filter on these cubes. The easiest way to add all of these mesh filters to the simulation is to add a Steam Audio geometry object to the parent. And we want to select Export All Children. This will include all the child mesh filters in the Steam Audio simulation. Then we want to assign a custom Steam Audio material. In this material, you can select custom audio properties like absorption, scattering, and transmission. Next, we need to bake all the Steam Audio geometry. For this, head to Steam Audio and press Export Active Scene. We're gonna put this asset next to the scene which is used for. Let's name it Geometry. And now we have an asset containing the baked geometry for Steam Audio. Also, every time you change any Steam Audio geometry, you need to go to Steam Audio and export active scene. Now we can create the Steam Audio sound event and sound container by pressing the shortcut Ctrl-Shift-Q. This will automatically create a sound container and sound event from the selected audio clips. Let's increase the distance scale to 200. And as you can see, plugin Spatialize is already enabled. This is because we set Spatialize default on in the Steam Audio integration. Now, if we go back to the sound container and open the Steam Audio tab, we can see all the new properties added by the Steam Audio integration. So, to get the sound event to play, the easiest way is to add a sound trigger to this game object. Then we'll add triggers on enable and disable, and add the sound event. Now we can try out the project, and listen how it sounds.
today I will be telling you my favorite numbers from 1 to 5.
And as you notice, the occlusion effect isn't active. So let's go back to the sound container. And while playing the game, we can enable occlusion.
Starting with 1.
Let's change the type to volumetric. And enable transmission, increasing the max surfaces, leaving it at simulation defined, and changing it to frequency dependent. This way the sound will be filtered at different frequencies depending on the settings of the Steam Audio material.
Today I will be telling you my favorite numbers.
Now let's try enabling reflections.
Starting with
And you can enable HRTF to the reflections and increase the mix level.
4, and 5.
I'll compensate by lowering the volume a bit.
This immersive experience, and I'll see you in the next loop.
And I think that's all for now.
Loop experience. Today, I will be telling you.
We've only scratched the surface of the features of Steam Audio. If you want to know more, you can go to the Steam Audio website and learn more about all the features of Steam Audio. All the sound container Steam Audio settings also have tooltips, which you can use to quickly reference information about them. So now we're gonna look at the PlayMaker integration. You just enable PlayMaker here, and when we press this button, it will add a scripting defined symbol to the player settings, causing the project to recompile. So to get PlayMaker to play Sonity sounds, we'll add an FSM component, edit it, and then at state 1, we'll go to the action browser and search for Sonity. Here we can see all the actions available in PlayMaker for Sonity. Now we simply want to play a sound, so we select Sonity, play sound. Now we can add a sound event. So what will happen now is that on start, it will go to state 1 and play the sound event. Let's try it out. And as we expected, the sound is playing on start. If you want to know more about the PlayMaker functions in Sonity, I'd recommend you looking at the documentation. Now we're gonna take a look at the new 2D, 3D information located in the sound event and in the sound container. This new information panels enables you to quickly see if a sound is 3D or 2D, without having to go and look in the spatialization settings. And as you can see, we also have buttons for selecting all the sound events in the folder. The information panel gives you an easy overview of the spatialization settings of all the selected sounds. So we can select all the 2D sounds, and then we can select their sound containers. And inside the sound container, we can see that distance is disabled and that spatial blend is set to 0. To make the sound 3D, we can just press this button. This will enable distance and set spatial blend to 1. If we select all the sound containers again, we can see that there's a sound which has 2D with distance. And if we look at the sound container, we can see that spatial blend is set to 0. So for this sound, we also want to set it to 3D. Another nifty thing you can do is to select all the sound containers and then select all their audio clips. This enables you to quickly check the settings of the used audio clips. Now I'm gonna show you another tip in Sulfur made by Perfect Random. So let's say for example that you have a gunshot sound which is too low in volume. And we want to increase the volume of the sound. But as you can see, the max volume is 0. So we don't have any headroom to increase the volume further. And this trick is very useful if you, like us, can't use the enable volume increase in the Sonity Sound Manager because you use Sonity and separate Unity audio sources. So let's just select all the sound events again and assign them to the SFX Louder 20 dB audio mixer group. This audio mixer group has an attenuation, increasing the volume by 20 decibels. And of course, for your own project, if you want to replicate this effect, you have to create your own audio mixer group and increase the volume. So if we select all the sound events again and lower the volume by 20 decibels and try it again in game, the volume will be the same as before. But we now have 20 decibels of headroom, so we can increase the volume. This tip is very useful if you mix Sonity with the built-in Unity audio system. Another quick tip is that if you're using the old PlayMusic or Play2D functions, which have been replaced in Sonity with Music Play and UI Play, there's an option to enable the legacy functions. Just go to Sonity, Legacy, and press Add Scripting Defined Symbol for Legacy Functions, Music and 2D. This adds this scripting defined symbol in the player settings, enabling you to use the old legacy function names. After recompiling, you can see that we get no errors and that we brought back the old play music function. So, that's all for this tutorial. At the website sonity.org, you can find links to more tutorials and some really good documentation. If you have any questions, you can email me or join the support Discord.